In the year 750, while Europe stumbled through its darkest age, a merchant named Ibrahim ibn Saul arrived in Constantinople with a camel train heavy with spices and a heart heavy with longing. He had not come to trade silks. He had come for books. Ibrahim was a Christian from Haran, that ancient city where the moon god Sin had once reigned and where knowledge still clung to life like water in a desert well. His grandfather had copied manuscripts for the last great library of Alexandria before the fire. His father had watched the last Greek-speaking philosopher flee to Persia. Now Ibrahim walked the streets of the Byzantine capital, seeking the remnants of what the world was forgetting. He found them in a monastery basement, where a monk named Theophilus guarded 37 volumes of Aristotle, Plato, and Galen. The pages were crumbling. The ink was fading. Mice had built nests in the metaphysics. "These are the property of the emperor," Theophilus said, though they both knew the emperor could not read them. "I will copy them," Ibrahim said. "I will copy them perfectly, and return your originals. And I will pay you in gold." Theophilus laughed. "Gold? What use is gold to a man who has no books? Then I will pay you in other books. In Euclid, which I have from the libraries of Antioch. In Ptolemy, which I bought from a Jewish merchant in Damascus. In the medical texts of India, which I have never read but carry with me." They made the exchange in moonlight, two men smuggling wisdom past the indifference of empires. Ibrahim spent 6 months in that basement, copying by candle while Theophilus corrected his Greek. When he left for Baghdad, he carried not just the manuscripts, but something new, a friendship across the border of faith, a model of what was possible. Baghdad was rising. Al-Mansur had built his circular city, and his grandson Al-Mamun dreamed in geometry. The Caliph had seen Aristotle in a vision, or so he claimed, and woke with a hunger that no earthly food could satisfy. He established the Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, and sent men like Ibrahim to every corner of the known world with the same offer: weight for weight, gold for books. But the House of Wisdom was not merely a library. It was a machine for thinking. Here, Ibrahim met Hunayn ibn Ishaq, a Christian like himself, but from a different world. Hunayn had traveled to Byzantium alone as a young man, disguised as a physician, to learn Greek from the source. He had been caught, imprisoned, escaped, and returned with a vocabulary that would change history. Now he ran the translation chamber with the precision of a general and the passion of a lover. "You're Aristotle," Hunayn said, examining Ibrahim's manuscripts. "It is corrupted. 3 copyists in succession made the same error in the second book. Look here, Lugia mistaken for Ausa. Being confused with substance. The entire argument collapses. Then it is useless," Ibrahim said, despairing. "Useless? No. It is necessary. We will reconstruct the original. We will compare 5 manuscripts, 10 if we can find them. We will note every variation. We will consult the commentators, Alexander of Aphrodisias, Themistocles, and weigh their interpretations. And then, Ibrahim, we will do what no one has done." "What?" "We will improve it." They worked in rooms that smelled of ink and cedar oil. Persian astronomers calculated beside Jewish physicians. Muslim grammarians argued with Syrian scribes about the precise meaning of logos. Hunayn's son Ishaq, barely 20, translated Galen's entire medical corpus while his father corrected him. A woman named Labana of Cordoba, exiled from Al-Andalus for her outspokenness, lectured on mathematics to students who had never seen a female teacher. Ibrahim found his place in this orchestra of minds. He was not the brightest, he knew this, but he was patient. He specialized in the connections, the cross-references, the marginalia that turned isolated texts into a web of knowledge. When Al-Kindi, the philosopher they called the philosopher of the Arabs, wrote his treatise on the intellect, it was Ibrahim who tracked down every Aristotelian reference, every Neoplatonic parallel, every Indian echo. "You are building a map," Al-Kindi told him, "of what humans can know." "I am building a raft," Ibrahim replied, "in case the flood comes again." The flood came, but not as he expected. In 813, Al-Mamun died, and the wars of succession began. In 836, the Caliph al-Mu'tasim moved the capital to Samarra, and Baghdad's golden moment seemed to pass. Ibrahim was 60 years old. He had survived 3 caliphs, 2 plagues, and 1 earthquake that collapsed the eastern wing of the House of Wisdom. He had translated, corrected, and connected more books than he could count. And he had begun to see the future. It came to him first in Spain. A young man named Muhammad ibn Lub arrived from Al-Andalus, sent by the Umayyad emir who ruled that western frontier. He brought books of his own, Arabic poetry, Berber astronomy, the emerging legal traditions of the Maliki school, but he came seeking what Baghdad had preserved. "I will return," Muhammad said, "and build my own house of wisdom in Cordoba." "Not a house," Ibrahim corrected. "A network. The knowledge must move. It must multiply. 1 library is a target. 10 libraries are a civilization." He gave Muhammad his own copies, his life's work, and taught him the system of marginalia, the method of correction, the discipline of doubt. When the young man left, Ibrahim wept, though he could not say why. In 861, Ibrahim ibn Saul died in his sleep, surrounded by manuscripts he could no longer read without spectacles. He was buried in the Christian cemetery of Baghdad, but his name was recorded in the Fihrist of Ibn al-Nadim, the great bibliographic catalogue, as the Weaver, for his habit of connecting disparate texts into coherent tapestries. By then, the exodus he had foreseen was well underway. Toledo fell to Christian hands in 1085, and with it, the libraries of the Taifas. Gerard of Cremona arrived in 1134, found the Arabic texts, and spent his life translating them into Latin. Adelard of Bath disguised himself as a Muslim student to study in Syria. Daniel of Morley fled the stupidities of England for the schools of Paris, carrying with him the Almagest and the new mathematics. Each of these men carried fragments of the House of Wisdom. Each believed he was discovering something new. None knew that Ibrahim ibn Saul, a Christian merchant from Haran, had ensured their discoveries would be possible. In 1258, Hulagu Khan's armies surrounded Baghdad. The last Abbasid caliph, Al-Mustasim, surrendered his city but not his books. The Mongols broke the dikes. The Tigris flooded. The soldiers threw the contents of every library into the river, so many volumes that, as the chronicler said, the water ran black with ink. Among the drowned was Yahya al-Nawawi, a Christian scholar of the old school, who had refused to flee. He was found clutching a single manuscript to his chest, Ibrahim ibn Saul's copy of Aristotle's Posterior Analytics, with corrections in the margins by Hunayn ibn Ishaq, al-Kindi, and 3 generations of unknown students. The book was ruined. The knowledge was not. It was already in Paris, where Thomas Aquinas used Averroes's commentary on Aristotle to build his theology. It was already in Oxford, where Robert Grosseteste applied Alhazen's optics to the study of light. It was already in Padua, where Vesalius would overturn Galen using methods first developed in the House of Wisdom. The river turned black. The conversation continued. In 2009, a curator at the Süleymaniye Library in Istanbul opened a box that had been sealed since the 19th century. Inside was a manuscript of Aristotle's Categories, copied in 932 CE by a scribe named Abu al-Faraj. The colophon read, "Copied in the House of Wisdom, Baghdad. Checked against 3 exemplars by Ibrahim ibn Saul. May God preserve the seekers of truth." In the margins, in 4 different hands and 4 different inks, were notes in Arabic, Persian, Hebrew, and Latin. The last comment, dated 1453, was in Greek. Found in Constantinople after the Turkish conquest. Saved for the West. The curator, a secular Turkish woman named Leyla Demir, photographed every page. She uploaded them to a digital archive accessible from anywhere on Earth. Within a week, scholars in Tokyo, Sao Paulo, and Lagos had downloaded the images. A mathematician in Nigeria found a note on logic that clarified a problem in computer science. A philosopher in Argentina used the marginalia to reconstruct a lost commentary. Leyla Demir, reading their emails, thought of Ibrahim ibn Saul. She thought of the camel trains and the candlelit basements, the flooded river, and the burning city. She thought of the long patience of people who believed that truth, once spoken, could never be entirely silenced. She added her own note to the digital file, in Turkish and English and Arabic. The conversation continues. Add your voice.